Good morning. I hope you're doing well. Such a frantic start today, as per usual. I don't know why my countdown thing keeps resetting to just having just the numbers. Yep. Very frantic morning. Yep. We've also had a bit of a snafu with a maintenance person in the place that I'm living, so I apologize if there's any banging or other noises. Hopefully it's not too bad. We'll see. All right, let's get into this week. This week was a very fun week. I'm a little bit sick, well, was a little bit sick this week, and still am a little bit, so I might sound a bit strange. Yeah, so I wasn't able to get as much done as I would have liked, but I'm still pretty happy with how things are going. And I've been a little bit distracted by some of my packages that have been arriving, which I don't want to reveal what they are yet. I made sure I tried to keep everything out of the frames, so there's no spoilers for future weeks. I'm waiting on one more thing, and we should have some very, very fun things to play around with. Cool. All right, on to the updates. Yes, Jugglebot can almost juggle 2 balls. Very, very close. Very close. And YouTube is being weird. Hopefully it's streaming fine. Everything looks fine in OBS. We'll see. All right. Yes, the first thing I want to get into is the Mocap cameras that I mentioned last week, that a rep from one of the companies was going to come here, and they did come here this week and sussed out my space, and we had a good chat about what's what, and it looks like it's a maybe. It's a maybe for Mocap cameras. The only reason is because they're very expensive, it turns out. They're super, super expensive. The rep described it as, usually these are the sorts of university grant money sort of budget. But the cameras that I originally told the person that I would be interested in, if you look on, I've got a link in the description for the Arcus series of cameras. I was interested in the Arcus A12 just because it's insanely high resolution and very, very fast frame rate. And those cameras, that was the dream level. They're pretty good. Apparently, a setup with those will potentially cost me around 50 grand US, Australian dollars, which is certainly outside of my budget for now. But hopefully we can get some of the less intense cameras that would still honestly do exactly what I need to do. Hopefully they're a bit cheaper. Fingers crossed. Still waiting on a quote from them. But maybe. Cool. All right. So the main thing this week, I have been testing Jugglebot doing 2-ball columns. I guess to preface why I'm doing this, as I mentioned at the end of last week, there is a bunch of things that I could be doing right now. There's so many different avenues that would all be very useful for the project, but I am somewhat committed now to doing an update video soon on the whole project and as an actual video rather than a live stream. And what I would really like to do is to get Jugglebot to be able to do 2 balls in one hand in a very specific context of just columns. I'm not expecting this to have much dynamism or anything, which obviously I want in the future, but right now I'm happy to not have that. Yeah, so I wanted to get to do 2 balls in one hand, and then I want to make this update video. So, sorry, this banging is very distracting. Yeah, and I want to get this all done before the end of August. So I've got about 3 weeks to make a video, well, get Jugglebot to do 2 in one hand and then make a video. So it's going to be a bit of a busy time. I don't think I'm going to have a huge amount of time to do many other things, which is a bit annoying because so many of these other things are very interesting. All the stuff that John and Joe are suggesting on Zulip, I'm very, very, very keen to do all of these, but I don't have time right now, unfortunately. So, what's the go with 2-ball columns? It's so close. It's so close. Very, very close. I do think I'm going to have to kind of take 2 steps back to go 1 step back to go 2 steps forward. Hopefully that's the direction it goes in. But right now it's super close. So let's see. I want to show you what I've done. I've changed my camera views around a bit, so now we have a slightly better view of Jugglebot. We've got a front-on view, which should hopefully make it a little bit nicer to see what's going on. And yeah, let's get going. So turning Jugglebot on. I really wish you guys had as much screen real estate as I do, so I could show you everything that I'm doing, but I don't think this puny little YouTube display will work for that. Actually, let me put me in as well. Let me, not right there, let's put me here. Yeah, that works. Cool, okay. So starting up the Rollers network. I also, so while this is all starting up, last week I noted how one of the legs, this one, was not homing properly, and through it was very interesting. Oh, it's good to see you, Clumsy Fairy. I'm glad you could make it. Yeah, last week I noted that one of these legs was not homing properly, and it was really strange actually. I want to, just before we continue, throughout the week this week, I noticed that that leg was just progressively being slower and slower and slower. So for example, when we did this process of auto leveling, so the platform rises. Oh wait, no, crap, wrong one. Need to home first. Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't homing properly, and it was also slowing down a lot. So when we went through this process of hang on, I'm gonna have to. Okay, it worked. That was a bit of a weird calling it twice at once, but it worked, so that's good, I guess. But yeah, when we went through that that auto leveling process where it raises up, it wasn't raising up perfectly levelly like it did just then, where it all goes up nice and smooth. It was just slowly, every time I would do it, that leg would be slower and slower and slower. So it would go up on an angle and then kind of like creep up. And the same thing at the end when I was shutting it down, that leg would shut down last. Very bizarre, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. I checked the mechanics, it all seemed fine, but then the resolution, so obviously it's working now, the resolution was just to reset the configuration. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. I've noted this a couple times over the last couple months, that every now and then one leg, I don't think it's always the same one, just one of them will spaz out a bit, and I just have to reset the configuration to like restore it back to what the other ones are. I don't really know why I have to do this. It would be great if I did, because then I could stop whatever is causing it, because this just slowly accrues over time. It just slowly gets slower and slower and slower. Very bizarre. But anyway, let's continue. So we've auto leveled. We are in the right spot. I like to do a practice throw with my throw to method. So I can get it to throw, let's just go straight up. I like to do this just before I try the columns, because the columns is pretty aggressive on the whole system. So it's good to make sure that everything's working properly. Nice. So this is a 0.7 meter throw, should be. Dude, that's not good. I'm gonna reboot. I don't like that startup sequence was very weird. I'm gonna just restart it. Where did the ball go? I have no idea where that went. Oh, got another one. Just disappeared. Yeah, so let's restart again. All right, so boot up. And home first this time. And now we can auto level. Yeah, this looks better. This looks good. All right, so now we can prime the hand, and now we can throw. I don't like this. This is being weird. This is being very, yes, thank you, Clumsy Fairy. Good spotting. All right. So I wasn't doing this half an hour ago. That seems all right. All right, I think we're okay. Let's see how we go. All right, so columns, there's only one ball right now. You will see why shortly. Let's try. I've been playing around with a lot of different settings to get this to work. So let's just try a single throw. So move. Hey. Let's see that again. So it throws. It's very fast. It's so hard to see what's going on. But I'll do some more throws so you can kind of see what's happening a bit better. Let's do 5 throws. So throws, moves over, like fakes the next throw, and then moves back again. I don't know why this was not dropping this much before. I think something has gone a bit strange. There we go, that seems better. Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. It's so close. So I believe me, I've tried quite a bit to time me getting the next hand, but it's so fast. The time between the first throw, moving over, going down and throwing again is very slim. Very slim. But a huge reason for that is because I haven't really gone out of my way to make it easy for myself. And I'll explain what I mean by that shortly. So I believe that's all I wanted to show you for now. So let's close things down. Nice, shuts down nicely. There was one time recently, actually, I just want to mention this now, just for posterity's sake. There was one time this week when I shut Jugglebot down, I'd like control seed in the ROS network, and the ROS network closed, but the robot didn't go through its closed sequence. It was really weird. No, there were no other errors or anything, it just didn't go down. And I don't know why. That's literally the only time it's ever happened in like the last 2 months of me having this set up. Cool, okay, so this is very close, but it's not close enough. And I'll explain what I want to change after I tell you what's actually going on here. So if you want to kind of follow along with the code, I have got a link in the description to the most recent GitHub commit with these changes in it. Cool, so the very first thing that we do is we set the throw parameters. So these are the range of the throw and the height of the throw. So right now I have the range is 0 because we're just throwing straight up, and the height in that case was 0.7 seconds. Oh, sorry, 0.7 meters. Once we have set the throw parameters, we get the throw and the catch trajectories, which are based on the throw height and the range. And these look like this. So these are taken from the trajectory generator that John wrote. I turned that generator into a class, and there is a link in the description to this video for that class. And yeah, so you can run this if you want. So this is completely outside of the ROS network. You can just download that code and then run it on your computer, and you will get these plots. I haven't put the labels I put in after I did the GitHub commit, so the labels won't be on the plots, but you'll get everything else. Yeah, so this is what's going on. So we can see during the throw sequence, the hand is moving up in this nice, pretty much sinusoidal, oh not sinusoidal, sigmoidal pattern. The velocity linearly increases. The velocity holds for a second, and then it goes back down. And so I am assuming that the throw is happening just after the hand stops, just after the hand's velocity goes back down again. I'm assuming that the ball is going to move at the velocity that the hand was moving at its peak. It's going to continue on moving at that velocity, but the hand is going to start slowing down. So the throw happens just after the hand starts slowing down. And the catch is basically the opposite. Cool. One thing that I did have to pay particular attention to is to make sure that that all of these patterns end with velocity and acceleration as 0, because otherwise the hand would try to continue moving after it is not supposed to. So yeah, we get these two trajectories. And for reference, at 500 hertz, just in case anyone's curious, at 500 hertz, so this whole like throw and catch is broken down 500 little increments per second. Each of these, throw and the catch, are like 80, I think the throw is about 80 frames and the catch is about 100 frames. So both of these events happen in less than 1/10 of a second. Very, very fast. So, and yeah, this is why I wanted to get as high of a control rate as possible. And so far 500 hertz has been working fine, which I'm very happy about. But even then, it's still only 80 points. Like, it's still not many for this entire profile, for one of the profiles at least. All right, so we've got the trajectories. Now we move to the left position and then we wait for the arrival. Again, it worked this time, but sometimes it doesn't wait properly. Like when I tested this just before the stream, just to make sure it was all working, it didn't wait. And it's the second time this has happened now. So it moves up and then I start like the throw columns program, and then rather than moving and then waiting and then throwing, it just throws as it's moving. So the ball just like goes off to the side, like outside of Jugglebot's range. And then it thinks it's at the top, and then it continues with the rest of the thing. Very bizarre. It's definitely got some bugs in my code. But I probably could have guessed that before anyway. Cool, so we wait for the arrival in the left position, and then we throw ball 1. We make a note of when that throw happens, according to what I just described, where as soon as the hand starts slowing down, we say, yep, the throw has happened now. We make a note of that time, and then we wait a bit. The reason for this waiting a bit is because I've noticed that when the ball is thrown and Jugglebot moves just after throwing the ball, the hand was actually contacting the ball after it had been thrown and while the platform was moving, causing the ball to get kind of like dragged by the hand. I have a suspicion that this is related to why when we're getting Jugglebot to like throw, say, side to side, those throws are always overshooting. I think this might be contributing to that. I don't think it's the entire story, but I think that it's part of it where, say Jugglebot's angled like this, we're throwing the ball like this. If Jugglebot starts to move before the ball is actually out of the influence of the hand, Jugglebot moving to the side like this will nudge the ball a little bit further to the side, causing it to overshoot. The only reason I discovered this, I could not see what was going on with this. So like the symptoms that I saw when doing the columns was that it would be in the left position, it would throw, it would move, the hand would do its thing, and it would come back, and the ball would land, but the ball would not land straight back in the hand. And I was thinking, well, either it's not throwing straight, or it's not coming back to where it is supposed to be coming back to, in which case we've got bigger problems, because that's pretty fundamental. Only by filming this with the camera setup that I've got now, could I see what was going on. And I've got my video editing software here, so we can see that when the ball is thrown, it goes up, the hand does its thing, and this is what I saw. The ball would always consistently hit in that same spot on the frame, always right there. And I was like, what is going on here? And even right now, because these cameras are only 60 FPS, so it's like, what's happening right here? Like, what is contacting what? It's very hard to see. But by playing this clip backwards on top of itself, we can see what's going on. Why is this not visible? How did that happen? All right, so yeah, what I did is I played the clip backwards over itself, and so we can see at the start, here, we can see two things. One thing is the start of the throw, and the other thing is the end of the throw. And so these are kind of like mapped over each other. And I've tried to time them up so that they kind of overlap. But we can see that the ball definitely is not going up straight. So I knew, okay, pretty confident that the platform is fine. Like we can see that the platform, I've got to go to the other side. The platform ends up in pretty much the exact same spot that it starts in. Like those two platforms are very, very, very closely aligned. So I'm pretty happy with that. The positioning, it's not perfect. Like I don't think it's going to come up in the video, but in the stream. But if you like zoom in really close, you can kind of see that. No, I can't zoom on this. You can kind of see that the platform does change ever so slightly, but it's very close. But the ball is definitely not going straight up. We can see how like it lands like 10 centimeters to the side of where it starts. So that's not good. So it was either the platform is not throwing straight or the hand was influencing the ball after it should not be. And it turns out that was the case. So now we wait a little bit. And after a little bit of tuning with this waiting time, 0.003 seconds appears to be the best. My original plan, for what it's worth, was I did not take the... What I did before was I looked at this velocity profile and I had a setting of like how many frames after we start slowing down should we assume that the ball has been thrown. And I think that I originally had that as like 10 frames, which of the 80 of the entire thing feels like a pretty significant amount. But I ended up having to increase that and increase it and increase it and increase it. And now this 0.003 seconds happens after the throw entire profile has happened. So the hand goes up. Once the hand is stopped at the top, then we wait 0.003 seconds, and then we move. So yeah, I think with some better camera footage of what's going on, I think we'd be able to discern exactly when the ball is leaving the influence of the hand. But without that, this is the best that I could come up with. And this seems to be working so far. And of course, the problem if we wait too long is that the hand won't be able to move, the platform won't move back in time for the next catch. So if this wait, I originally started with 0.1 seconds, and the hand was like, the platform is way, way, way too late. Like the ball would come down and the platform's like still way over here. Like, yeah, so it's a very fine line between waiting too little and having the hand bump the ball on its way out, and waiting too long and having the hand not be able to get there in time on the way back down. Very tight margins here, definitely. Cool, so we've thrown the first ball from the left position, we've waited a bit, and now we're safe, the ball is out of the influence of the hand. Now we can move over to the right. We move to the right, and then we lower the hand. Now, the way that I've got this set up right now is we lower the hand just by following the catch trajectory. So we are lowering the hand as though it were catching a ball falling from 0.7 meters. And now this is definitely contributing to why I'm having a hard time putting the ball in the hand, because even though 0.7 meters doesn't feel like a lot, the ball is still moving quite fast. I actually think I have it in my, it's something like 3 meters per second-ish. It's around 3 meters per second. 3.7 meters per second. Yeah, so I've got to be very, very fast. And this is one thing that I'm thinking I will change. Yeah, cool. Thank you, Clumsy Fairy. I'm glad you like that approach. It's definitely not an ideal approach, but it works for now. Also, how do you know that I'm waiting on a high-speed camera? I never said that. So we've lowered the hand. We are now in the right position. The first ball is still up in the air, and we're in the right position waiting. We now wait until it's time to throw the second ball. I'll get to this in a sec. And then we throw ball 2. So now we've thrown ball 2, and ball 1 is still in the air. We wait a bit again because we don't want to influence this ball now that we've just thrown it. So we wait the same 0.003 seconds, and then we move to the left position. Now we wait until it's time to catch the first ball, and then we catch. And then we wait until it's time to throw the first ball, and then we throw. And then we wait a bit, and then we move over, and then we catch, and so on and so on and so on. Rinse and repeat. Okay, all right, that's fair. I have heavily alluded to it, is why I was being a bit cheeky just then. Yeah, so this all seems like it should be fine, to my eye. And I've coded this up. You can check out the code if you want. It's in the link in the description. It seems like it should be fine, but there's a weird problem that I'm facing. And I want to show you on the VNC view. So let me, oh, nice, cool. So you can see here, let me make this a little bit bigger. If anyone knows how to like make things bigger in OBS without having to do this like drag thing, would be great to know. Cool, so this terminal up here is the one that I want you to look at. So we can see, let's go to the most recent thing, that this is what we just ran. So what I'm doing here is I'm timing when the first throw happens, when the second throw happens, and then after that, I'm timing the time between the throw that just happened and the throw that happened before it. And we can see that the time between the second throw, which is in the right position, and the first throw, which is in the left position, is 0.37 seconds, which is like, okay, cool, whatever. But the time between the left throw and the right throw is 0.58 seconds. So this is weird, and it's consistently like this. One gap is 0.58, one gap is 0.37. And it continues, like this gap is just big on one side and small on the other side. And you can see in the video, if you were really paying attention, and maybe if you weren't, you can go back and watch it again, but you can see that the platform spends like the overwhelming majority of its time in the left position. So it will go like here, then da-da, da-da, da-da. Like it's real, and of course, because it's columns, like it should be equal. Everything should be the same left and right. So it should be like here, 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 here. So something is going wrong with the timing, and I have no idea what it is. I have spent far too long looking at the code that you can see in the description, and I could not and have not been able to find where this problem is. Before I continue with that, I just saw, sorry, I didn't see Ian, I didn't see your comment because I mixed up your icon with Clumsy Fairies, but you asked, why are you always in a bathrobe? The reason for this is purely comfort. So, yes, very, very comfort driven. This is probably less of a thing now, but definitely earlier at the start of these live streams, I knew that if I was going to do these live streams regularly, I needed to make them as easy for me to do as possible. I don't want to have to like set up my entire room every single time and like have to get changed into like nice fancy clothes and whatever every single time I'm doing this, because that's just going to raise the barrier to entry for me doing this, and it's going to make me less keen on doing it and enjoy it less. So I figured I will do as much as I can to make it as easy as possible for me to do this, to lower the barrier to entry as possible. That's a big reason why I've got the insane camera computer setup that I've got here. That, I mean, I don't know if I've really shown it off very much, but let's see if I can get this camera over. That's why I have all of this, is to make it as easy as possible. I can see my PowerPoint down here, I can see your chat up there, I can see me over here, I can see Jugglebot over here. Like, this is designed to make it as easy as possible for me. The camera is super easy to set up. It's just on one of these boom arms that I can really quickly swing over. And yeah, I want this to be as easy as possible. In that same vein, I am wearing this 99% of my life right now. I spend the overwhelming majority of my time in this room wearing this gown because I live in Melbourne and it is freaking cold here. It is freezing and I'm an Australian and I'm not meant for this. So sometimes I do get warm. If I get warm, I obviously take it off and I put it on the door. But yeah, nowadays in winter, it's pretty chilly. So definitely not sweating or anything. Brought to you by Dean. Thank you for coming. I'm glad to have you here. You've asked, when is your next full format video? Soon. Very, very soon. Hopefully. I am really going to try my best to get a video out before the end of August. I haven't started filming or anything for this video, so we will see. My goal is to get Jugglebot to do 2 balls in one hand, which I feel very good about getting to do next week. But then full focus after that will be making a video. So yeah, hopefully by the end of August. Very, very, very hope that I can get that done. Yeah, I don't know if I prefer the heat or the cold, to be honest, but the cold is nice because you can wear clothes like this, so I like it. Yeah, okay, so our timing is off. And we can see that the hand spends most of the time in the left position. I don't know why. It's very confusing. We can do better. So after a lot of head scratching, looking at this code, trying to figure out why it's spending more time in one position than another position, I just could not see what was going on there. I tried like printing a bunch of different logs. I tried a bunch of things, could not figure out why that timing is happening. It's there in the code somewhere, but I can't spot it. I even tried hard coding some values. So one thing that I mentioned last week, and I am very grateful for, is this juggling lab is a very, very, very useful software. If anyone's keen to, I don't know, get involved with, or like start to get familiar with these sorts of juggling patterns, Juggling Lab is the software to get. So I've been using this a lot. I have set up this throw. This is exactly what I'm trying to get Jugglebot to do, except in columns instead of arcing in a circle. And so this is timed out perfectly. So the throw is 0.7 seconds. So we're going from here all the way up and then back down to here. The only thing that I wish that I could do is I could set this scale thing to have like 2 sets of the throws rather than having it like swap every time the ball is thrown. But yeah. So I even tried hard coding some values. So I got this thing and I was like, okay, I want each event to happen at the times that are shown on this little slider. I tried hard coding those and even that didn't fix my problem. So I'm really not sure what the issue is. But I've realized, after taking a step back, I've realized that there's a better way to do this. And this better way is what I was trying to do before. It's interesting to me, looking back at my old attempts to do the code for this project, because I don't know if this is uploaded to GitHub, but I had at one point what I called the Arduino Big Brain code. And this was back when Jugglebot did its very first throw. So this was, I think, probably about 2 years ago. And I tried to fit everything, the entirety of Jugglebot's control into one Arduino script that was only like 800 lines long. So there's no freaking chance that that would fit everything. I was trying to fit in site swaps. So like I would feed in the number of the height that I want the ball to go to, and it would like figure out when the next throw is happening and when the next catch is happening and all this. Tried to figure all that out. Needless to say, did not work remotely. But my thinking, I think, was bang on. I just need to split everything up into like a million different functions rather than having one giant one. Yes. So my old schema is that and this is how juggling kind of works, is that the beat sets the timing. So the beat, this is the most important bit. This is what I am trying to get at when I say we need to obey the balls. We need to obey the beat. And yeah, I'll elaborate on that in just a sec. So so the beat is like how every throw happens on an evenly spaced beat. So if we take that as a given, then we can kind of work backwards from there. The first thing we can figure out, or one of the things we can figure out, is the time that we need to be at the throw pose, because we know how long the throw is going to take because we have these trajectories here. We know that the throw is going to take, in this case, for a 0.7 meter throw, I think that's what this is, it's going to take a bit over 0.15 seconds. So we know exactly how long the throw is going to take, and we can figure out when we need to be at the throw position. Another thing we can do is we need to throw as we are commanded. So the initial throws are a little bit tricky. They are the only time when we're interacting with the ball not as a result of catching it, which kind of throws things off a little bit. And I think that might be related to why my timing is currently off a bit. I think I've done something a little bit weird to do with these initial throws. But yeah, so we'll set the throw times. I basically say one beat is every half a second or whatever it ends up being. And we will throw the first ball at that first beat, throw the second ball at the second beat. In this case, because we're throwing columns, both trajectories are just straight. And yeah, so those will be set. Now, to get the catch, rather than doing what I'm doing now, where we just wait some amount of time, move over, and then catch when right now what I'm doing is I'm calculating how long we need to wait for the catch just after the throw happens. I think a better way to do this is to do it beforehand, before the ball is even thrown. We know when the ball is going to come back down again if we assume that the control is relatively tight. We can obviously make updates to this later on, but I think for now, assuming that the control is good will work for now. But I might have to change that later. But yeah, as soon as the ball is thrown, we set the catch state. So we say, okay, the ball is in the air now. It is coming down at this time. We need to be at this pose to catch it with the arm or the platform, and the hand will need to follow this trajectory in order to catch the ball. Those things are set in stone. They are coming at some point in the future. In the next 1 second, usually, we need to be here. We need to be at this pose at this time, and then get the hand to follow this trajectory. We can also ignore catches that happen where the time is during or just after a throw is made, because we won't be able to get to the pose in time. So that'll be good to be able to cut some catches out if they're not possible. But yeah, this is the general idea. So my thinking with this is that we'll end up basically constructing little snippets. Every time a throw is made, we will add on to the future timeline when that catch is happening, and that entire catch state. And then once the catch has been made for the throw, we have a look at what throws have been commanded by me or the user, and then we grab whatever the next one is. In this case, we're just going to be following the site swap 4-0, which is the one that we just saw here. So this is 4-0 because the 0 is the other hand that's not doing anything. The 4 is the throw to the O, to the same hand that it was just throwing. So we grab the next throw from the next list, we make that throw, and then as soon as the ball's in the air, as soon as the hand is empty, we go, okay, what ball is going to be caught next by this hand? And where is it going to be caught? And then we look through that list and we say, okay, cool, this is the next ball and it's going to be caught here. So we need to move to that catch position and make sure that we're ready at the time that the ball is coming in, and then we will follow that given catch trajectory. And then we've got the ball, now where we're going to throw from. Okay, we grab the next throw, so we move there, and then we do the throw. I'm planning on this being done like one step in advance. This is extremely similar to what I was trying to do before with the Bezier curves, but just with different details, basically. Yeah, so I want to try to always be one step ahead. So like as soon as we throw, we've already got the catch and the next throw plugged in. And then as soon as we catch, we've already got the next throw and the next catch plugged in. But of course, I want some level of dynamism here. Thankfully, this won't really be an issue for now, but definitely at some point in the future, we're going to have times where the ball that is currently the next ball in line to be caught by a given hand will be replaced by another ball coming in later. So I don't remember the site swap notation. Let me see if I can. Let me show you how Juggling Lab works in real time. It's very cool. So can I make this? No, I can't make it any bigger, sorry. But you can fill in your pattern here, and I believe 7531. Yeah, okay. This is obviously a very complex example of this, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. Where right now, this ball here is the next ball that's going to be caught by the left hand, the one over here. But very shortly afterwards, this ball is thrown much lower and then replaces this one as the next ball to be caught. For what it's worth, this is actually not a pattern that Jugglebot will be able to do because it can't do these zips, this really low throw. But a very similar, very similar patterns will be able to be done by Jugglebot. And so we're going to have to be really careful to make sure that this control algorithm can replace the next ball to be caught. I feel pretty good about this. I think it should work pretty well. I'm going to make this next version will be a very simple, very bare bones, very dummy version of this. I'm not going to try to do everything in one script anymore. I've learned my lesson, hopefully. I mean, yeah, I've mostly learned my lesson. But I think this should work. I think it should be good. I want to do like training wheels version of like what the bigger control will be. Brought to you by Dean asks, how are you detecting the moment of catch and release? I'm basically just using these trajectory profiles right now. So it's very open loop, these ones. Oh, I didn't realize I was covering that whole time. Whoops. Yeah, so the throw is like just after the velocity goes down, and the catch is the same thing. So the catch should be happening around here. In reality, we're actually noticing, John and I are both noticing that the catch is happening quite late. So we tend to see a bit of a spike in velocity after when the catch should happen. The catch should be like right here, but in reality, often it's like around here somewhere. It's a bit weird. Don't really know why that's happening. But yeah, for now, I'm just following these trajectories. Apologies for the sound. Cool. Okay, so this all seems fine, but this still doesn't address the problem. Actually, let me continue addressing comments. Ian asks, have you measured the amount of gravity in your part of the world? I actually, this is funny, I'm glad you mentioned this. I actually did look this up, but the only calculators that I could find for it required you to like put in your latitude and longitude, and I don't know, I was a little bit joking at the time that I was doing. I was like, this is a bit of a lull, like maybe gravity's not actually 9.81, like let me see what it is, and then I couldn't find it easily in like 5 minutes of looking, and I'm like, no, whatever. Surely it's like within 2 decimal places of 9.81, so surely it doesn't matter. So to answer your question, I started to look it up, but then I gave up because it was a little bit too annoying to find. But I'd be interested. I'm in Melbourne. If anyone wants to look it up, I would be curious to know. I'm sure it's pretty close. Cool. Yeah. So none of this whole schema that I've outlined does anything to help me loading the ball into the hand. And of course, this is something that I will hopefully very soon, maybe not very soon, but hopefully soon, we will make a little launcher thing that can like sit, like a little mini Jugglebot that can sit below Jugglebot and just like throw the balls at just the right time that they can land in the hand to like do multiple balls in one hand. I do not want to be having to load this for multiple balls every single time it happens. So hopefully soon we'll have a little launcher thing, but for now, I need to be loading these manually. So yeah, but none of what I've outlined helps with that at all. So what can we do to make this easier for me? Yes, the time to load the second ball is extremely short. I've spent quite a bit of time trying to get it to work, but it's a very, very, very small amount of time, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So my thinking is to do this, we might be able to throw the first ball particularly high to give us more time, keep the hand at the top, where I will then load the ball in, lower the hand as slowly as we can afford to, so that the hand is ready to throw when it needs to, and then throw. The idea with lowering the hand as slowly as possible is that hopefully we will have enough time to lower it without the ball coming out. So one thing that I've tried when I've been like putting the ball in the hand is I've been trying to put the ball in at the top, but because the hand is moving as though it were catching the ball from 0.7 meters, the hand moves a lot faster than the ball falls due to gravity. So what ends up happening is I put the ball in the hand drops, the ball falls through the air, and then the hand starts to throw again and just like whacks it, and of course it doesn't go where it's supposed to go. So it needs to go down hopefully slower than gravity. I don't know if there'll be enough time for that, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. Now, one thing that does make this all a little bit tricky is that if I tell Jugglebot to throw a 1 meter throw height with no ball in the hand, we get an error because the hand is being controlled we're telling it where it needs to be, like what position it needs to be at, and we're also giving a velocity and a torque feed forward, which basically say, we are expecting you, motor, to be able to be in the position that you need to be at. We're expecting you to need to put out this much velocity and be applying this much torque. Because I, the human in the system, I understand the mechanics of what you're connected to better than you do. So I'm telling you, you're probably going to need to be at this velocity and you're probably going to need to have this much torque to be at each given position. The problem with this is that the model that John has made relies on the ball. Well, it doesn't rely, it assumes that the ball is in the hand. And the ball has quite a bit more mass. I need to double check this, but it's got a very large amount of inertia compared to everything else in the system. And so if the ball is not there, then that inertia is gone. And so what ends up happening, especially with the higher throws, is that the hand moves really fast to throw the ball, and then it goes, oh, hang on a sec. I've like way overshot where I'm supposed to be. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and it gives this spin out error. And so that's not good. And that makes it very tricky to get this to work nicely. One thing that I tried to do was to just get it to throw 1 meter throws and then try to load the ball in manually, because I figured that 1 meter will give me a little bit more time. But if I don't get the ball in on the first attempt, then that first throw where there's no ball in the hand will trigger the error and then the whole thing stops. Very tight margins. Very, very, very tight margins. So yeah, I think that this should work though. This is actually really similar to an approach that people do when they're juggling. It's so-called numbers juggling, when you're practicing like 7, 9, 11 balls, is to throw the first 2 balls a lot higher than the other ones. And that gives you a bit of breathing room and you can go, okay, cool. And then you can like, to get all the other ones out. So kind of similar approach. And yeah, hopefully this will work, but we'll see. All right. And lastly, I have an update on measuring the legs. So last week I presented this rig that I was a bit miffed by. I spent a little while designing it and like getting it all to work. And I love it's so satisfying to like actuate, but it's not precise enough to do what I want to do. However, I have recently bought a linear scale, which I have here. So I'm planning on using this instead. This claims to be able to measure to, I think it was 0.005 millimeters. So very precise. I think it was 5 microns, super precise. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one in Australia that's long enough to go from the ground up to the length of the leg, which is a little bit annoying. but I'm fairly sure that the legs, the biggest thing with the legs that I care about is their relative lengths rather than their absolute lengths. So my plan is to mount this to my aluminium extrusion that I've got over there, and then use this to measure the absolute lengths of all of the legs after doing the homing process. And that way I can say, okay, all of these legs are homed, they should be the exact same length. In fact, they are not, probably, I haven't actually done this yet. But I can at least like know how far off they are and then account for that in the code. So yeah, that should be fun. I haven't had a chance to actually plug this in or anything. That's a pretty intense cable. Came with this really weird little adapter thing. It's just like a 1 in, 1 out. But it's like, why would I need this? Because it outputs the same plug as the original plug. I don't really know what this is for. But yeah, it should be pretty good. I'm pretty keen to use this. I hope that it's as sensitive as they claim it to be. It'll be pretty useful. I would love if I could get one that's a lot longer, and maybe I will. I think John sent me a link for one that was on AliExpress that was like 1 meter long, so I might pick up one of those as well, but AliExpress tends to take a while to ship things, so we'll see. Ian is saying, can you add a magazine to the launcher? I think I would add a magazine to... Actually, yeah, this is probably what we're thinking about. Yeah. Sorry, I interpreted you to mean the hand, but absolutely. Yeah, the launcher, the little mini Jugglebot that's down the side that will be like poofing the balls into Jugglebot will absolutely have a magazine to hold extra balls. Definitely. One thing that I am... Sorry, I really need to cough. I'm going to mute myself. Oh, that felt so good. Cool. Yeah, one thing that I am realizing is it's kind of like moving up my priority list is that for a long time, actually there's a spoiler for this in my very, very first video, that I want to make what I have been calling the ball butler, where everyone who juggles knows that the biggest problem with juggling is dropping and having to bend over and pick up the balls again. It destroys your body. It is so, like, you're having to pick up like dozens of times in like an hour session. So frustrating. So what I really want to make is a little robot that I can take with me to the park when I go to juggle, and that can like roam around and can detect when I've dropped a ball, pick up the ball, and then I can make some sort of like hand signal to it, and then we'll throw the ball up to me. Of course, this would use a very, very similar setup to what Jugglebot has. Presumably not 6 degrees of freedom, but maybe 3, so it can orient itself. But yeah, something like this will be super helpful for me personally when I'm juggling. In the last week, doing the 2 balls in one hand, I've been like, damn, like, if dropping balls when I'm juggling is annoying, when Jugglebot drops balls, it's even more annoying because I have to pick up balls that the robot dropped. Like, the robot shouldn't be dropping. So it's very... I don't even get like the satisfaction of like me doing the throwing, but I still have to bend over and pick up the balls. So this has definitely moved up my priorities list, where I want to make a little robot that can like sit around on the floor here and then either throw the balls into Jugglebot to like get the pattern continuing. I probably won't do that. More likely is that the little vacuum bot, ball butler, will pick up the balls and put them in the magazine for the launcher to then pop in at the right time. Of course, both of these are going to be an entire project in and of themselves. So they're probably not going to happen for a little bit, but both of them, I'm going to be increasingly desirous of them as time goes on. So yeah, they'll definitely be made at some point. Maybe not for a little bit though. James says, any chance you can put a sensor in the hand? Yes, the sensor in the hand, this is something that I've thought about quite a bit, but I really don't like the idea of routing cables to the hand. Because the hand moves really, really quickly, and I don't like the idea of cables having any opportunity to snag on anything else on the robot or on other balls. Like, there's so many things there for it to get caught on, and I don't want to make that sort of problem more likely. Yeah, I know that there are like the cable, like CNCs have those like routing chains that the cables can run through. I don't think that would fit very nicely on Jugglebot as it is now, at least. And I don't think those are really made for like super high speeds. But I don't know, if anyone's got any ideas on that, I'm very interested, but I'm skeptical that it would be possible anytime soon. For what it's worth as well, the sensors that I would be putting in would probably be some sort of pressure or contact sensor, so that way we know when the ball is actually in the hand. I think there are other sensors that would be useful, like the laser gate that I've talked about a little bit would be very useful. That would probably be like around the hand, maybe not actually on the hand, but definitely some sort of pressure or contact sensor would be super useful. It would, yeah, definitely be useful, but I don't know if it's worth the effort right now, for this design at least. Clumsy Fairy, that's what I was talking about in my comment. Yeah, the DRO. Yeah, I didn't know what a DRO is. I tried looking it up, but all I got was like acronyms for, I don't know, sketchy stuff. So I couldn't find the digital readout. Yeah, good suggestion. Neon Nomad, been following along with your design. Wish to use your actuators for a modified dual platform. Sick. Nice. Let me know how it goes. If you need any advice with constructing them, let me know. I'm more than happy to help. Have you thought of using catenary curves instead of Bezier? I have not. I don't really know very much about catenary curves other than they are like the curves that you get when you hang a string. I don't know much about like their actual derivation or how to handle them. Can you like integrate and differentiate those quickly and easily? I'm not sure. But in any event, I've kind of moved past the Bezier curve stuff now. Yeah, I may come back to it, but for now, I'm actually not using Beziers at all. Ian is saying you can do it wirelessly with a battery. Battery would definitely be more inertia, absolutely. The biggest thing that I would be concerned about with doing it wirelessly would be latency. So if I were to have a pressure sensor or some sort of contact sensor in the hand, I would want that to be like microsecond accurate, maybe not micro, millisecond accurate to give feedback on whether the ball is in the hand or not. I think if I was going to go to the effort of putting a sensor in the hand, that's the level of precision that I would want, because that would be so much more useful for getting the timing of everything working nicely. Like yeah. I don't want to, there's a whole rant. Clumsy Fairy, for the hand sensor, how about if just a light laser gate will detect if something is there? Yeah, but the laser gate is really annoying now. This format of the structure of Jugglebot right now is not very amenable to the laser gate, which is a bit annoying. It's definitely possible, but it's not, yeah, not as easy as it was before. Use a small battery-powered Bluetooth. Yeah, but latency, problem. One thing actually, it's on my mind now, so I'll just mention it. Let me go to, yeah, let's go here. I can move faster when I move to a preset than when I command it with the joystick. So something that's interesting, this has happened one time so far. A ball was thrown, but it wasn't in the hand quite properly when it was thrown, and the whole system came up, and the ball got stuck in here, and that can, like, I mean, the ball's pushing down on the hand, so it's not actually staying there right now, but like that's stuck. Like, I cannot push that up higher. It completely jammed the system and like threw an error on the hand motor, which wasn't great, and it's a little bit concerning that can happen. I wouldn't have thought that it would be possible, but it has happened so far one time. So it's not impossible that it will happen again. So yeah, another small grievance with this setup. A microwave radar sensor with a low energy transmitter might give you a lot of info, but I need super. So something that's very worth keeping in mind is that my background is pretty much exclusively, as far as this project is concerned, is pretty much exclusively mechanical engineering. I am not super knowledgeable about most electronics stuff and most programming stuff other than what I've picked up from the project. And I am becoming more and more aware of how much time and effort some of these really fancy things can take. Some of these things have a very high barrier to entry. And honestly, microwave radar sensor with low energy transmitter strikes me as the sort of thing that would be a fairly steep learning curve. Yeah, which it might work, but I don't know if I could get it to work easily. Yeah, torque feedback is, yeah, Ian is on it. So I think this is a better solution for now than a sensor in the hand, where the hand motor is absolutely sensitive enough to detect when the ball's in the head. You can see in the O drive, like there's an O drive web GUI. It's really, really good actually. I'm a big fan. And you can see in the GUI, like when the hand is told to be staying still, like it's closed loop control at a given position, if you put the ball in, you can see on the chart the position and the current both change. It has to put in more work to stay in the same spot. It is detectable. So I think we can use something like that to do this. However, it's a little bit tricky when the whole system is moving. When it's static and you just plop the ball in, then it's like, okay, cool, we can detect it. But it's like, if the hand is moving, can you detect the difference between movement without ball and movement with ball? Definitely possible, but I think it's a lot harder. Yeah, Bluetooth 5 is fast. Millisecond fast? Microsecond fast? How fast is fast? Yeah. Yeah. I'm keen to stay away from wireless stuff for now, is I think my TLDR. Cool. Lots of things. Some extremely super exciting updates will be coming. Very, very, very cool updates. I'm waiting on one more thing. I don't know if it'll be here before I leave on holiday, which will be a little bit of a bummer, but it will definitely be here afterwards. So we'll have some very cool stuff to play with once I get back. Cool. All right. I'm pretty sure that's everything. Yeah, looks good. Cool. I hope you found that interesting. I'm surprised how many people are here this time. This is good. This is nice. Do we want to have, there's more people here than there were before. Let's have one more run of columns just to show everyone what's the hap. Because it's fun. I like running Jugglebot. And it'll be good to see if it's more precise than before. And maybe I'll try loading the second ball in, see if we can get it. I'm not going to give this many attempts though, because I tried it yesterday, well throughout the week, and it is extremely difficult. Actually, one other thing, I'm glad I'm doing this actually, because there's one other thing that I would like to mention, which is that when I first tried this, Jugglebot wasn't able to move side to side fast enough, and actually, we can see in the recording, we can see what I mean by this. Oh, I've got so many bloody keyboards and stuff around. That's not what I want. Oh, yes it is. This is a recording, this is not the live footage. Yeah, you can see that wobble. Jugglebot is like, whoa, like very, very, very wobbly. And I believe that was related to that one leg not moving as fast as it ought to. But in any event, it was not moving fast enough. I actually think I might have fixed it up to this point. But Jugglebot was not moving fast enough, and it turns out that I had arbitrarily set the speed limits to be super, super slow. It was like 10 revolutions per second and 10 revolutions per second acceleration. And in my testing before, I can go up to like 50 revolutions per second and 300 acceleration. So I definitely had a lot of headroom. And so I've made some changes, and now I can set what the speed limits are of the legs when I'm doing this columns process. But we need to be very careful, because if we get it to move too fast, there's a bit too much inertia in the platform. And I actually had at one point, one of the legs ripped out of its little magnetic joint in the base. And I didn't realize until a couple of attempts later, I'm like, what is this leg doing? This is really bizarre. Turns out it had come out, because there's just so much inertia in the platform that when it moved and stopped super suddenly, it just ripped the leg out. Gotta be careful. Cool, so let's go to here. We are on. We are homed. Good to check that before auto leveling. Yeah, I love it. It's very nice seeing it all raise at the same time, rather than previously it was arcing around weirdly. We can do our practice throw. Perfect, crispy. And now let's try. All right. So this will just be 5 throws with just one ball. Let's see if it works. That was a very sketchy catch. One of those catches landed right on the front. Yeah, it's definitely some work to be done on the consistency. But let's go 10 throws, and I'll give it one shot to load it in. I've never had this work so far, but maybe. Ah, it was the wrong time. Shit. I did the wrong one. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so fast. I definitely need to change this to make it move a bit slower when I'm loading it in. Way too fast. Oh, the camera was bumped. No. Oh, well, hopefully it... All right, let's do one more now with a good camera. Give it one more try. One more try. I'm ready. Oh, almost. I actually, so, it was the wrong time again. It's so hard. So hard. It's funny watching it back. All right, cool, good attempt. Yeah, one thing that I'm actually not even certain that the second throw, so let me step back a tick. The first thing that I was trying to get working on this was that it would throw, move, and catch, and obviously that does work most of the time, but I'm not certain that that second throw actually does work. I've never been able to get the ball into the second throw in time, like in the correct time to actually see if that one will throw, move, catch. So I don't actually know if the timing is even right on that one. Yet to be seen. But I think that once I go through the whole schema that I outlined before, I think it should be a lot better. GG Jugglebot, indeed. Perhaps some different cup shapes could be tested. Yes, actually, I'm glad you mentioned this. This will be the last thing, I think. Someone suggested in an earlier video and in the comments that I can try a hand with a little cutout, which was a very interesting idea. I was like, that's clever. I like that. But I don't really know what will happen. So I printed off, like this is exactly the same, just without, it's got a hole, I think it was like 70 or 80% of the diameter of the ball. Interestingly, I invite you to hypothesize as to what the effect of this will be. For what it's worth, the radius of this cup is like identical to the radius of the ball. So the ball sits in there very comfortably. And obviously same thing in here, it's the same radius. Very comfortably sits in there. Interestingly, I actually don't think that there's any difference at all between these, aside from weight and perhaps stiffness of this one. They seem to behave the exact same way. Obviously, both of these could afford to be a little bit larger in the same way that the current hand is, but as far as this hole is concerned, I actually don't know if this has any effect at all. I've tried like throwing the ball in from different angles, and it appears to behave the same way, with the same amount of like bounciness and the same amount of rolling around. Very odd. Yeah. Yeah, but yes, I am more than open to different ideas for hand shapes. I've also bought some different balls, so these ones are more hacky sack style, and you can kind of hear them hopefully. Very squishy. I've done a little bit of testing with these, but I think I need to change. They're quite heavy, and yeah, I think I need to change the trajectory generators for these because they don't seem to be as accurate as with the orange and white balls. I bought some other balls as well, but they are yet to arrive. So I've got a lot of testing to do with different balls, different hand types, different everything. Lots to do, as always. But as I said, first mission, 2 balls in one hand. So close. So close. I feel good about next week having this working. But I've been wrong before. I've been wrong many times before, so we'll see. Cool. All right. I hope you found this interesting. Thank you for joining me. As always, good luck with everything you're doing. Oh, we've got a visitor for the end of the stream today. Come on in. Albie's come in to say goodbye. All right. Yep. Good luck with everything you're doing. I'll see you next week. Albie, wave goodbye.